Hello, welcome to Point of View, the channel you can trust. Today I would like to talk about a very important subject that will affect you and your normal life. The title of this video is Warmonger, Serpentza, Nuclear Submarine. Winston became a full-time anti-Chinese YouTuber, telling lies, promoting biased point of view, fake news and misinformation about China and the Chinese. Winston's YouTube channel started receiving more and more viewers and subscribers in America. With his anti-China rhetoric, attacking China, he's doing all this for the money. And money, that's what he wants. Haha. Now, Winston is becoming very dangerous. He mutates from a racist to a warmonger. Danger to mankind. Winston Stazel is dangerous. Every Chinese must be aware of this recalcitrant. This racist trolls their social media with anti-China and Chinese rhetoric that increasingly contributed to the Asian bashing and anti-China behavior that's going on in the Western countries. Winston is getting more and more dangerous by the day with his almost daily videos of racial insults. Now, he is moving to warmongering and talks about nuclear submarine and war.
Thank you for watching. Making video is time-consuming and hard work. Kindly click the subscribe button and click the like button so as to encourage us to make the videos you like. Thank you and happy watching.
I've got something you're really going to want to see here because it concerns you. Why is the Western world so damn stupid when it comes to dealing with China? Why is it that we allow them to get away with what they get away with? Okay, I've recently been watching a lot of what's been flying around with regards to Australia specifically. As you may know, Australia has now signed a deal. They're going to be getting nuclear submarines because they need nuclear submarines because of the threat from China in the region. Let's be honest, China's been ramping up this massive navy. They're building these false islands. They're doing all this kind of stuff. They're very aggressive. And especially their rhetoric is very aggressive. They've been very aggressive towards Australia as far as trade policies are concerned. And in general, they like to do a lot of trumpeting and chest thumping and all that kind of stuff. Now, I'm sure you've seen the clip of Victor Gao, who is the vice president of the Center for China and Globalization and a chair professor for Suzhou University, as well as being a former translator for Deng Xiaoping, the previous chairman of one of the previous chairmen of mainland China.
Australia itself will be a target for possible nuclear attacks in the future.
Can I just stop you there? Can I just stop you there, Victor? Australia will be a target for nuclear attack from whom?
You do not need to know whom it will be, but as a logic, no one wants to target any nuclear-free zone, which now includes Australia.
Australia has said it will not be carrying nuclear weapons. These are nuclear-powered submarines, as indeed China has. But we're not talking about nuclear weapons. So how is it a target?
Listen, do you really believe you can trust what Washington or even what London say? I would say the watershed moment will be if Australia is armed with nuclear submarines to be locally produced in Australia, Australia will lose that privilege of not being targeted with nuclear weapons by other countries, and that should be the wake-up call for the Australians, the 23 million Australians. Do you really want to be a target in a possible nuclear war, or you want to be free from nuclear menace going forward?
Surely that's unacceptable for someone representing China to say something like that. Why is it that we always let China get away with this kind of stuff and we just stand back and say, oh, it's just China, we better be careful? Well, there's a lot more that's been going on for a very long time, and I've got something to show you, which it's about time everybody took notice of what's being said and what people are being told within mainland China. You see, here in the West, we have this big debate all the time about how we should talk about certain things. We don't want to talk about China in an aggressive way. We don't want to treat them as an enemy or a threat. We don't want to put those words out there because we're concerned that it might hurt the feelings of China. We're concerned that it might be perceived as being racist. And we're concerned that it might ramp up, tensions and potentially escalate things and lead to some kind of a conflict.
It's good that we've had this debate, but we have to make sure that we conduct a debate in a way that doesn't arouse fear and anger and anxiety amongst the Australian people, because if we do that, it puts us on a path which leads more directly to all of the horrible things that we've been discussing today.
This is us. This is the Western developed world, the democracies of the world. This is us, the way we deal with people diplomatically. This is us being nice. This is us saying we have to be careful. And we have these big debates with each other, and we've got people who are completely for China, we've got people that are completely against China, we've got people somewhere in the middle. But the fact of the matter is we still debate about how we should talk about things because we don't want to say things that sound overly aggressive. We don't want to say things that sound like warmongering. So for instance, if we talk about protecting ourselves from a potential invasion by China or protecting Taiwan from a potential invasion from China, it's seen as warmongering or fear-mongering, and it's controversial for some reason to even mention these things. However, in mainland China, they are blustering and constantly calling for war, constantly talking about how they're going to invade Taiwan, constantly talking about how America and the West is their enemy. I'm going to show you some real-life stuff so that you can see that while you're worried about your words being misconstrued as perhaps a little bit too aggressive or perhaps something that might escalate a situation or something, China already is full blast escalating, speaking aggressively, and they're doing it to every single citizen of China. So everyone's familiar with news pop-ups, right? You're using your phone and a notification will come up if you're subscribed to different news services. It just pops up and tells you what the latest headline news is, for instance. And it's usually something political or to do with the stock market or to do with whatever, you know the deal. You know what pops up on your phone in China? Articles about attacking the West and how bad America is or how bad the West is and how much of an enemy they are. That's what. We're going to look at a couple of these. Now, I got tipped off to this. Obviously, when I was living in China, I would get these kind of weird pop-ups on my phone the whole time. But I've got a friend that lives in China, and the reason why he alerted me to this is he is a foreigner, okay? Now, this is important because as a foreigner, he's not interested in following the Chinese news in Chinese. He's not interested in following anything to do with that, but he kept getting these pop-ups on his phone. And this is important because he's not particularly following any particular news trend or anything like that. He's, using his phone for his everyday stuff. So this stuff just kept popping up uninvited on his phone. I took a look at some of these, and they are pretty appalling, the things that are being broadcast around and popping up on people's phones all around China. Of course, I confirmed with multiple Chinese friends, and of course the same stuff is popping up on their phones, mostly just seen as, news popping up, things like that. But if you look at the wording, okay, and if you look at what's being pushed to people's phones all around China, you'd be quite shocked. It's awful. It's warmongering, it's aggressive, it's anti-foreign, it's xenophobic, it's racist. It's some terrible stuff that's being pushed to people's phones, and the problem is that the majority of people trust this news. They trust these pop-ups that come up on their computers, come up on their phones all the time. Because in China, you trust the state-run media. You have no choice. That is your only source of information. You read the Chinese news, you get your news through Chinese outlets, and you cannot get your news from anywhere else because it's blocked, it's banned. So imagine your average everyday grandpa or your average everyday uncle or any kind of a person sitting down there drinking his tea, doing his thing, and something pops up on his phone saying how bad America is and how aggressive they are towards China and how we have to prepare to fight against them. He's going to read that and he's going to absorb that and he's going to take that as gospel, right? And this is what's happening. China is preparing its populace for a war, and if not a war, preparing its populace to shun the rest of the world, block everything out, and be completely China-centric. So let's go through some of these pop-ups. I'm going to translate them one by one. I've got a number of them from different sources. And we're going to see exactly what everybody in mainland China is being pushed to their phones and what they're reading. Okay, let's just quickly snap through these. We got a lot of this coronavirus nonsense where they blame the US. This one says, has the case been solved? Evidence points to the fact that America had a vaccine since the year 2000 already, a coronavirus vaccine. It must have come from the US. This one's just mocking America's withdrawal from Afghanistan, basically saying, even if you went back with all your soldiers, it wouldn't help. America is going to export B-21 bombers to fight against China and Russia. With great strength, the situation escalated when the Chinese Coast Guard rammed the Japanese patrol ship near the Diaoyu Islands, which, the Senkaku Islands, when apparently Japan launched unprovoked provocations against China. This starts with a saying, cut iron like mud, which basically means overkill. And it says, the American army uses this missile to murder people to avenge the deaths of the soldiers killed at the Kabul airport in an explosion. This one says that America has come to beg China for help, and that the US Secretary of State apparently hopes that China will play an important role in Afghanistan. This one's another coronavirus origin found article, which points again to America. Now, I know some of you out there are probably saying, yeah, America's got tabloids and weird alt-right websites and weird leftist websites and so on that put out absolute crap there as well. But in China, it's all state-controlled. Even the tabloid newspapers, they have to first pass the censorship board. They have to be approved by the government. So everything that gets sent in these pop-ups, every article you read, is approved by the government and sanctioned by the government. I mean, this one says America finally surrendered and Russia applaud China on its bold move. Biggest hidden traitor in the United States exposed, and it's that same big traitor. America acquiesces and approves the Chinese vaccine. The arrogant new ideas to fight against the Chinese military. The US commander claimed that the US F-35B will be able to board Japanese aircraft carriers. There's a lot of warmongering, there's a lot of nonsense talked about here, mocking America, mocking Australia. You get the idea. Now just imagine for a minute, you in Australia, you in New Zealand, you in Europe, in Sweden, in wherever, in India, you in America, you in Canada. Imagine you were getting things pushed to your phone, not worried about hurting the feelings of America or Europe, or any other foreign country, you in Europe, in Sweden, in wherever, in India, you in America, you in Canada. Imagine you were getting things pushed to your phone, except the exact same thing, except they were painting China as the enemy, or they were painting a specific country as the enemy. Would that not be a problem? Would there not be certain groups of people who would be offended by that, say, for instance, the Chinese diaspora? Would there not perhaps be a lot of outrage? Why are we always tiptoeing around, worried about hurting the feelings of China and the CCP? They're certainly not worried about hurting the feelings of America or Europe or any other foreign country. In fact, aircraft carriers. There's a lot of warmongering, there's a lot of nonsense talked about here, mocking America, mocking Australia. You get the idea. Now just imagine for a minute, you in Australia, you in New Zealand, you in Europe, in Sweden, in wherever, in India, you in America, you in Canada. Imagine you were getting things pushed to your phone, except the exact same thing, except they were painting China as the enemy, or they were painting a specific country as the enemy. Would that not be a problem? would there not be certain groups of people who would be offended by that? Say, for instance, the Chinese diaspora. Would there not perhaps be a lot of outrage? Why are we always tiptoeing around, worried about hurting the feelings of China and the CCP? They're certainly not worried about hurting the feelings of America or Europe or any other foreign country. In fact, they openly discriminate and show hatred towards the outside world. Why are we debating and discussing and tiptoeing around how we should talk about China? It seems as if everyone is afraid of coming across as too aggressive and that they may start some sort of conflict. Yet China doesn't care about speaking aggressively and actively encourages its news outlets and citizens to prepare for war and to propagate hatred, distrust, and malice towards America, the rest of the world, and to prepare for war. Should we not maybe be doing the same? I don't want to be a warmonger or a fearmonger or anything like that, but if my neighbor is constantly talking about how he's going to attack me and how bad I am and how they're going to defeat me in a single blow and all this kind of crap, surely I should be preparing in the same fashion, at least preparing a good defense, preparing myself when this belligerent, terrible neighbor of mine decides he's going to strike? Or should I just be tiptoeing around saying, oh, I've got this crazy neighbor and I really shouldn't even mention his name. I should avoid coming home when he's home because I don't want to make him angry. Because that's what the rest of the world is doing right now. We are allowing China to bluster and prepare for war and build up its military and its navy and take advantage of the rest of the world while we're too kind and too nice. We care about their feelings too much. We're too compassionate towards China because they have no compassion towards the rest of the world. In China, with the CCP China, it's all about CCP, CCP, and CCP. The Chinese people, they don't even care about them, only if they serve the CCP. One proof of that, just see when any Chinese citizen decides to speak out against the CCP or decides to go his own way, you'll see very quickly what happens to that person. If you toe the party line, and if you're in line with what the CCP wants, sure, they'll allow you to have your moderate prosperity. They'll allow you to continue on with your existence, but step out of line, that's it. CCP is not a nice group of people. There's nothing positive about them. A lot positive about the Chinese people, mind, but not the Chinese government. So, now you know what everyone in China is reading on their phones on a daily basis, the kind of crap that's being pushed to them. Don't feel too upset the next time someone treats the Communist Party of China as some kind of a threat, perhaps talks about them being a threat. Don't be that person who's like, oh, don't say that. You might be a little too aggressive, that you might hurt their feelings, because they don't care about your feelings. They don't care about our feelings. You've seen it for yourself. Anyway, until next time, guys, you know the drill. As always, stay awesome.
Winston is dangerous. He is promoting distrust, conflicts, and making enemies among nations, hinting that other nations attack first. Nuclear danger.
We have come to the end of this video. Thank you for watching. Making video is time-consuming and hard work. Kindly click the subscribe button and click the like button so as to encourage us to make the videos you like. Thank you and have a good day.